Hi, this is Burr Stewart, and for the last couple of weeks we've been having a variety of odd operations on the HO scale Burlington Northern in 1973, and you've seen some of these in shorts that I published recently, but I thought I would let us both sit back and relax and enjoy the full-length horizontal format versions of these shots. We have the Challenger running a express reefer train. We have some footage of a number of Brian Elchlepp's beautiful Burlington Northern green diesels. We have a British steam, both by itself and where the passenger consists. We have more of Brian's beautiful locomotives. We have British diesel hauling some Great Northern ore jennies, which you saw in a recent short. And we have that steam engine running by some Burlington Northern diesels. How weird is that? Of course, not to be left out is our new re-gauged Rapido GE 44-tonner switch engine, and we'll show you that in a variety of settings. So let's get started. Our first train was a Challenger that my neighbor Bob Wickham brought over. I believe this is an HO scale Atherogenesis model. Beautiful thing.
You're good.
And we got out the refrigerator cars, and I guess you'd call it a reefer block, and we hooked that engine up to it and ran all over the layout. The Challenger, of course, is the most exciting part of the train, but now you get to see it on the layout in its full glory.
Unbelievable. Most people look at that and say salt.
Now it's coming along the Puget Sound shore, of course. What a great whistle. I wanted to capture that articulated dual steam engine action. Not to mention the squealer coming up. Emerson Street overpass. And blowing right through Seattle's Interbay yard. Hot on its tail is a British diesel. I'm not sure which one this is. You know that Robin Peel is in the habit of trying out his equipment over here, and that's exactly what we see. Now the Challenger's made it all the way around to the Snohomish River Bridge, approaching Everett. A few minutes later, the British steamer is passing through Everett the other direction. You gotta love that horn. And of course, now we're going over the Snohomish River Bridge, again in the other direction. This section of track, you may know, is the illegal cutoff because this cuts off from Everett back down to South Seattle so we can do continuous runs. We were doing construction, I'll show you that, in South Seattle, so he had to stop here and back up. But look at that beautiful firebox light in the cab. Nice. And as usual, switching in Interbay continued unabated.
I mean, your grandkids ate them all. Sounds like you trying to whistle. Sounds like you trying to sing. Sounded like a little fly.
At this point, Robin really cranked that engine up to high speed. And then I noticed that I had left these BN locomotives on the track. This was set up for a photo shoot that I wanted to do to complement a historic photo that Blair Koistra posted on Facebook. And we'll probably go into explaining this later, but these are some beautiful engines and a caboose that came off my roster just for the purposes of taking a still photograph.
Where do I find, where's the big vacuum cleaner?
We hadn't removed them yet, so you got to see them. And for some reason, the steam engine stopped, but I don't know what that was. Whatever it was, it appears to have been temporary.
Joe Green's is,
Now the next magical appearance was our GE 44 tonner regaged to HON3 track, pulling a very long train. I think it was a 12-car train, and I posted a short about this, but now you got to see it in its full horizontal glory. Most of these cars are stock Blackstone cars, so they have a decent amount of weight to them. And this engine really had no trouble with, well, 12 was about the maximum he could do. But it's up a 3% grade, so that's very impressive. That's better performance than I get from my Blackstone steam engines. If you've considered setting up a narrow gauge line on your railroad, run the other way as fast as you can because it's very fun and distracting and keeps you from working on your standard gauge layout. John Allen, the famous modeler, had the same problem. He started a narrow gauge line and basically just didn't finish it because everything else was so much fun to work on. A little while later, the engine is back down in the Delta yard doing some switching. I'm not sure why it was going up the main line backwards like this, but you know, with a unidirectional engine like that, you never know what they're doing.
And it's still in.
And right away, the steam engine comes back, this time with a set of passenger cars behind it. Yeah, let's crank that guy up. We pride ourselves on having some of the fastest rail service between Seattle and London. Meanwhile, Brian's other diesel was hard at work up on the helix, while the 44-tonner came back down from whatever it was doing. Those engines both sound terrific. I'm not sure this SW1200 switcher approves of having to work out with the narrow gauge cousins right next to it. Now we have a quick construction update. Tim Smith has been over in the corner rebuilding the Lone Star Cement complex, and he put a road in next to what will be a fence. And we're going to put a sugar factory in here where we used to have the steel mill. So you can look forward to those projects in the future. Now, meanwhile, Brian was fooling around with 6 of his BN locomotives that he had brought over to play with. And they started making their way up to the Snohomish River Bridge, a scene that was originally built by Paul Scholes. Very nice. In a few minutes, they backed down off the bridge, and I got a drone shot of them. That caboose yard office came off of J.J. Johnson's layout a few years ago. And now, of course, you've seen my short on the British 31 class engine pulling a string of Great Northern ore jennies with a proper brakeman at the end of it. Now, as you know, there was a railroad in England called the Great Northern Railway, as well as one in the United States. So we have the fiction that it's legitimate for this British Class 31 to be pulling these Great Northern ore jennies. I know it's incorrect, but we can do what we want, right? It's just a model railroad. Now, after passing through downtown Seattle, let's come through Interbay Yard and approaching the Lake Washington Ship Canal, otherwise known as the Salmon Bay Bridge number 4. Below it, you can see the skyline of downtown Seattle and the West Seattle shelf that we're planning to build out soon.
You know, the thing you know.
Yeah. Where that is? I think I need to go.
Finally found the notes I was looking for. About 70 max.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. This isn't really hardcore operations, it's more people just enjoying playing with trains. But this channel is called Much Fun with Trains, so we don't always have to be engaged in intense switching exercises. Sometimes we can just let those trains run. The important thing is, now that I've spent all this time and effort building a long main line in my basement, that people are really enjoying playing with it. And I hope you are too. So for now, this is Burr Stewart, wishing you much fun with trains. Oops, he went on the wrong track.